All right, good to have you back. Today I'm going to take a look at fretboard mechanics a little bit and like how the fretboard works, but at the same time we're going to learn how to play some inversions or nice voicings of C major 7 chords. And I will also show you how to alter those chords a little bit to make them other chords as well. And now, when I say fretboard mechanics, I mean, well, essentially the way the guitar works. And I think I'll jump in there first of all. So here we have in this diagram here, this is pretty straightforward diagram. What it is basically all the natural notes on the guitar fretboard. Natural notes being the white notes of the piano, right? So here they are, all the white notes of the piano, wherever they can be played on the guitar fretboard. Now all we have to do is get them in the right order. Yeah. Okay. But let's take a look at that, right? So what we've got here, sort of laid out, is the C notes are all pretty clear, and so you'll have to start with a assuming that we're in the key of C right now. So C is our tonal center, and what this is not a lesson in scales and how they work, right? I'm just trying to get to some nice chord forms. But for those of you who are at this point where you can look at this and recognize the scale forms, these scale forms break down up and down the fretboard like there's the natural notes there. And then we move up to second position, and then here's the natural notes there. And then we move up to fifth position, right? Now I'm covering here I'm here now, right? You could all of those notes are underneath my finger. I'm not going to bar or anything, but just to show you where I am. All the same. And then up, then now I'm going up to eighth position, starting on the C. And then up to C. That was right here, see? C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, made that shift there and came back down, right? Down to here and then back up to the root. And then I can take it up to the second octave. All right, you get it? So positions. Now if I take the, that's obviously a C chord. This is like a little A chord, right? And this is like a little G chord. Not practical to play, demonstration purposes only. A little G chord, E chord, D chord. Underneath each of those chords, there's a corresponding scale. Underneath the A chord shape, corresponding scale. Underneath the G chord shape, of course, corresponding scale. Underneath the E chord shape, corresponding scale. And underneath the D chord shape, a corresponding scale. All right. So, and those chords spell the word caged. That's basically it, right? I'll go into greater depth later. I just went down that road. I couldn't resist. It's as simple as that, right? The fretboard is a like a conveyor belt of notes. So these scales always remain in exactly the same relationship to each other. Now, if I go up my little conveyor belt of notes, the scale form stays exactly the same. And now I'm in the key of D, and I would go through exactly the same scales, exactly the same fingerings, but they're all moved up. And I can keep moving up and up and up and up, and all of their scales will stay in exactly the same relationship to each other. And they, believe it or not, the scales that are on the top will go back around to the bottom, right? So you can wrap your head around that until we do a video that is specifically designed to show you the ins and outs of the cage system, which you've got to know. I like the calling it fretboard mechanics because it's the way fretboards work, but it actually goes one step further. This would all of these patterns, these scale fingerings would look different if you had 5 fingers. Or they'd look different if you had 3 fingers, right? So it's all of these scale fingerings are in direct relation to where your hand falls on the fretboard, right? So obviously, what we did, we just played all the notes in that in that diagram, all the notes of on the entire fretboard, and we always place our hand with the 4 finger idea, right? 1 finger for each fret. Okay, now let's learn some chords. Okay, let's learn a C major 7 chord. It was using the same kind of idea, right? So this chord here, I'm going to do these quickly first, is based on this chord, the C major 7, the C, right? And this chord here, this major 7, is based on this A, right? This C major 7 is based on this G, even though it's sort of hard to see, but it's you see this G here, and it takes back to the major 7. It's like, take my word for it. It's based on the G form. C major 7, C major 7 based on the E form. And an alternative. And then C major 7 based on the D form. And then the alternative is to take that high E, drop it down to the bottom, the 3rd on the bass, in the bass. Okay, so now let's take a look at these chords. A C major, and more closely, a C major 7 chord is made up of the notes C, E, G, and B, right? The B being the major 7th of the scale of C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so that B is going to have to be in every one of these chords in order to make it a C major 7 chord. So there's pretty. Don't ignore these chords in open position. They're just as relevant and pretty as in some many cases more prettier than the rhythm type chords further up the fretboard, right? These are really pretty. Okay, so don't ignore the open position. When you're learning these chords, always have a template of the scale underneath the chords you're playing, or else you know, I don't know how you can improvise if you don't do that, right? You play, as soon as you play a chord, you can see, right? The scale, the template is the foundational to the chord. All right, and so the notes we have here are C, E, G, and B, right? And then we move to same notes in a different order, in a different voicing, C, G, B, E. And I'm just using it in the middle 4 strings, inside 4 strings. I don't play the other, there's no sense to play 2 Gs. You know, you don't need that. Okay? There's a C major 7 in that position, and then there's your template. And then moving up the fretboard. This one here, it doesn't sound good with this major 7 in the bass. You don't want to do that. So this is it. This is what you get in this position. Great chord. Really, really, really valuable, useful. And so I have the G, the C, the E, and the B major 7 on top. If I put the major 7 on the bottom, it's just going to really confuse what chord this is, because the major 7 is such a color type note and when you take it to the bottom, the poor confused ear will start to think that this is the root. I don't even know. That's outer space somewhere. Okay, cool. And then we have this one here. You always know where your roots are. Here's my C, my major 7, my 3, my 5. And the scale. Right, and so and then the alternative. Pretty little chord. It's like a piano voicing, 1, 3, 5, and 7, all in order, right? And then the next one, root, 5, major 7, and the 3 up on top, and my scale. And then with this one, we can take the 3. The 3 you can take down to the bottom. You can't take the major 7 down to the bottom, but the 3 you can take down to the bottom. And that's a nice voicing, isn't it? That's actually a really handy voicing. If you ever wanting to, sort of play bass lines, right? You'll want to take some of these chords and invert them, putting the 3rd on the bottom and the 5th on the bottom, and so on. Okay, but yeah. So there are 5 different major 7 chords that are built using this whole idea of the major scale underneath them, right? This caged concept, if you will. It's not really a concept. It's just the way it works. It's just the way it is. And then C major with the, in each case C major 7 with the scale underneath. All right, now, when you learn chords, obviously, when people learn chords, especially at the beginning, right? Guitar players are hopelessly visual at the beginning because that's the way they're taught. You get a picture of a chord, and you make that picture go on the fretboard, and there you go. You got a chord. You're happening, right? No, that's not the way it really is, right? The way it really is it's those are notes, and they come from somewhere. And especially if you want to do any improvisation, you've got to know how all of this stuff fits together, or else you'll remain confused for, like as I did for many years. Okay, so so that's what we want to do. We want to spread those chords across the fretboard laterally. But when you think of a chord, what I was getting at is now we don't want you thinking just one picture, right? There's a chord. This is my C major 7 chord. This is what it is. No, actually now what your C major 7 chord is so that becomes your C major chord. Now, I take these and often group them together. If I just want to do a little chordal passage, so I'm just sort of. Right? These are all C major 7 chords, or C major chords. Chord sounds like toss in a couple of others, but and that's a nice 6/9 if you want to use that. It sort of links up these other major 7 chords really nicely. 6/9 again. Right? When I say 6/9, let's see what that doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? C, 5, 9, and 6. Down here. I remember learning this chord many years ago in a little Joe Pass book that he wrote about chords. It's really funny because none of the chords had any names, right? It was just like, seriously. I mean, and I think that's just fantastic because everything was ears for Joe. He had such great ears. He just, wow, I really like the sound of this chord. I'll put that in my book. But what is it? It took me like forever to figure that out. But anyway, so he would just call this chord major chord, and this chord major chord, right? Major chord. They were just major sounds. That was it. Been, story over. So again, this one, a nice connection here. And then the same thing connects down here, right? So here you've got the 5 on top, and then you got the 9. Is that my 9? Yeah. And then you've got a 6, right? And a 3. So it's just a really pretty, just an inversion. It ends up inverting. And then if you want to put this together, now that's a chord. You see, just one chord. That's just a sound. It's just a major chord. Yeah, and then 2 chord for, let's say. You get the idea, right? So that's that's a whole different way of looking at chords. You take one chord and you extrapolate that chord all across the fretboard. You learn to play laterally. You learn to make those connections between chord sounds. Sometimes you'll have these you'll have these little gaps between the chords, but you can fill in those gaps as I did with the major nines in two different places. Nice, easy, easy way to play it. And of course, don't forget that I mean we're in the key of C here, but that's obviously going to work exactly the same way in key of D or key of E flat, key of F, right? The guitar is sort of a key-sensitive instrument. It's happier in some keys than it is in other keys. But if you want to play with horn players, sax players like different keys than guitar players, and so you're going to have to learn to feel comfortable, equally as comfortable in all keys. Okay. So that's a little bit of a look at the CAGED system as it relates to specifically to a C major 7 chord, and then connecting that C major 7 chord laterally across the fretboard with the template of a C major scale underneath the chord that we're connecting. And then I added those 6/9 chords in two different positions because they're lovely and simple to play major sounding chords. Yeah, we could go a long way, but let's just stop right about there. If this was interesting to you or helped you or opened up some doors for you, really like to know, click like, subscribe would be even better. And we'd love to see you again. And if you have any questions about anything I'm discussing here, please ask me those questions. I'd be more than happy to help you out and on a more personal basis. Okay, thanks, and see you soon.